Welcome to our 10th episode of the Bitch, Why Are We Still Fucking Friends fucking podcast. My fucking name is Cece, and with me as always is Didi. Wait, fuck. I'm Didi, and with me never is Cece. Today we are talking about bloody, smelly, sexy, slimy, drippy, messy periods. And we are happy to tell you that we have some guests that are going to also spill their period blood all over the podcast. Hey Cece, how you doing?
I was honestly fine until I heard that intro. Wow, okay. Since you asked how I am, I think it's never good timing to get your period because it sucks.
You have it?
But yeah, it started early.
Mine is sort of in the phase where I'm getting the first kind of signs. So, and I always we've actually discussed this before. I think I go right after you're finished. So I know from your schedule, like, oh shit,
My time is coming.
yeah,
My time has come.
you need to go sit on your mossy rock. Um, I'm curious of like what often are the first signs of impending PMS. I know there's just the general sore boobs, fatigue, vaginal
hmm
sweatiness, a change in bowel function and physical appearance. But there's some
hmm
stranger things I've noticed, like very sensitive teeth and an oversensitivity to textiles and surfaces that aren't normally there as much. And I was curious if you have any like weird, like,
Definitely, I have begun to track and notice that often when I'm feeling like just like walking into traffic because I can't stand everyone and everything,
mhm.
that is very frequently
you're,
an
you're doing it now
associated.
with me, huh? You're like, damn it, she said again.
I have to edit out all that shit.
Should I also do some mouth noises?
If
I
you
know
could and really
those are
pop
so awful.
pop those P's and drag out those S's.
Yeah. You're actually
Yeah.
pretty terrible at that, I think. Your S's.
You know, this is the worst
I think
possible
on my
time
last
to bring this up.
on my last period, I think on our one of our last interviews, you were really hitting the S's. And I was just at that time in the month when I was just like, oh my God. And it's you sounded like a little snake.
To be fair, I am usually able to edit those out later.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like the way people talk can kind of make you want to punch them in the face.
Yeah, I definitely, when I have sort of deep feelings of hopelessness, it's
Mm-hmm.
often associated with the start of my period. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't actually think that that's an overreaction at all. Periods are awful. They suck. People can say that, oh, it's a wonderland, like it's all about the reproductive cycle and periods are important. But
And you're a woman now.
right, I'm not fucking reproducing. So I'm good. I don't need to be like, this is enough. And I'm done with it.
Do you look like you're 6 months pregnant again?
At least.
I know that you're sort of like me and even Lily, I think, as well. Sleeping wise, I find it insomnia even worse around this time.
Also, like you were saying about just general sensitivity and discomfort, like I find aches and pains worse
Mm-hmm.
as I really drag out those S's, aches and
Oh,
pains.
yeah. And I was and vaginal sweatiness. How's your vaginal sweatiness?
It's not that bad, actually.
That's good. I was going to say you're never getting laid again. But here's another chance, though. A change in bowel function. Tell me
Not,
about your shits.
I find that it's not the worst. It's far from the worst thing that I experience. I would say I notice a change.
And just for reference sake, which I like the way you put it. Preferred method of collection do you use?
My preferred method of collection is it's actually called Nixit. They call it a menstrual cup, but it is more of it's not like tall and narrow the way like Diva cups and things like that are. It's more of almost like like if a frisbee were rounded on the top.
A lens?
Yeah, a lens, but with like a rim around
Right.
the top so that it sits just above, and it doesn't. The reason I really like it, and I think the reason that a lot of people will prefer it, is that it doesn't use suction. And so, but because of that, you have to be careful, like when you're working out and stuff, like if you're doing heavy weightlifting or something and you're really like bearing down, it's going to dump itself. But so if you happen to be sitting over a toilet or in the shower or something, that's what's so great about Nixit, is that you don't have to take it out to empty it.
You can just sort of maneuver your muscles down there and
Right. Basically, like, you just kind of like, as you're squatting on the toilet, you just bear down, and if it's full enough, it just dumps out. But obviously,
mhm,
I think it's every 12 hours you have to like take it out and
right.
wash it
It's
with like a pH
probably a good
balance,
idea anyways.
right? Like nothing should be up there for really extended periods of time, you know? Like,
Nixit sounds like a lice removal thing. I just keep thinking of that.
yeah, it sounds a little bit like pest removal.
Hey,
Um,
well, that makes sense.
yeah, I'm fucking bothered by menstruation. So,
And it,
but yeah, but it's way more comfortable. It doesn't leak in the same ways. It holds more liquid or whatever
mhm.
is in there.
It's just amazing though how many options we have now. It's like our moms, had the old clip-in garter underwear type of deal. But even
Yeah.
from that point in the 70s, we have so many more options now. You
Hmm.
can just kind of pick what's comfortable with your vagina, what you feel comfortable with. And you don't always have to use the same one either. You can use period underwear at home and then like cups and discs and tampons while you're out and stuff. So we're very sort of privileged in that way to live in this time where we can have all the options. And I know that some people don't have these options, which is pretty frustrating. For one thing, what age did you sort of start and what method or did you start with? Because I know most people start with pads.
Oh, fucking fuck pads. I have on so many different levels. I get it, for some people, they're the best option and they are maybe comfortable for them. In my
Did you start with
experience,
pads?
yeah, I started with pads. It was the summer between grade 5 and grade 6 that I got my first period.
I think
And
that's really weird. That's when I around 10 years old. It was the worst
uh-huh.
summer ever.
Right. Yeah, it was unexpected. And I mean, I definitely was the first girl in my class.
There's a nice moment when you are among the first where not a lot of other people clue in that the loud opening of packages in the washrooms is just they're probably thinking they're eating junk food in there or something. But
I
and
know.
then as people start bleeding, then everybody clues in, and that's when the hot fucking horror stories started, where girls would bully and try to
Yeah,
like rip open the doors so that all the girls in the washroom could see you trying to put period products on. It was just,
yeah,
yeah. So those
yeah.
were interesting times. I actually
Right.
have an extremely embarrassing story, and I'm wondering if it's too far.
Too late.
But I don't have any friends, so who cares? When I was young, obviously, like most people that grew up at our in our age group, that we just started with pads right off the bat. These thick, like pads that wouldn't really hold much. They were dry, sort of. They weren't. They were like a weird papery top.
Before wings were really a thing,
Yeah,
that was a fucked up time.
yeah. That's was these things. They were like very tall and like and this papery sort of uncomfortable stabby type of material on top that wouldn't really absorb very much. But anyways, I, like most girls, just wanted the evidence to be gone.
Yep.
And I didn't grow up in a family that really talked very much about things, but I knew enough, that obviously I had to wear these every month. I
Yep.
wanted the evidence to be gone, and I lived with a stepdad and siblings, and it was embarrassing, older
Yep.
brothers. So I made the horrible decision to start flushing them.
Oh no.
And I flushed them for like 2 months worth, I guess, because it was like two periods worth. At one point, I came home and there was my dad on top of the house with one of his friends, and they had a hook. They had the, the, sorry, not the hook, but
Like the
the
drain
snake
snake?
going down, and hooked on the end of the snake as they were pulling it out was this period pad ball that had been stuck on in this pipe, and I was just, it was so embarrassing. And my mom, she was pissed because of the damage, but also it's kind of like, well, she's 10 years old and she doesn't know. And it was just like, yeah, it's probably the worst period moment, almost one of the worst period moments I can think of. But that's, it's what you do when you're young, you want to hide the evidence. So,
That sounds rather nightmarish.
and he's still my stepdad.
That's the worst part, is that they stayed married.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess he figured that girls weren't so bad. I guess you have to deal with their their bloody pads.
Can't get any worse than that.
No. So have you tried free bleeding?
I have not. I mean, other than the times when I just haven't been prepared and didn't intend to free bleed.
I think if you were to try it once, I would recommend a really warm time on a Gulf island where you can just wear like a sundress and just sort of like, you're just outside, you can just bleed however, and then go rinse off in the ocean. That
Yeah,
doesn't sound bad to me, and I have tried it to some degree, but going to school, going to work, going shopping, you're,
yeah, if like I just like cork it up. I don't want anything like that. But that's what I like about Nixit, is that I don't have to, when I'm out, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to touch it. There's no taking out or putting in of anything. And
mhm,
also, if you can't wash your hands, that's the other issue, is like, even with tampons, when you're removing them, you've got to go and like get that string, because you're not supposed to leave the string. Some people maybe don't know this, but you are not supposed to leave the string dangling down, because then it works as like a ladder for bacteria and stuff to get up, you know, in there. Even if you're using applicators, you still have to reach up inside yourself to get the string when you're removing a
mhm.
tampon. So I like that for hand hygiene, because a good rule of thumb is, if your hands aren't clean enough that you would want them in your mouth, and that applies to everything. If it's not clean enough to put in your mouth, it's not clean enough to go into your vagina.
I That's a really good point. I often do so many mouth to vagina, vagina to mouth things that just, I keep my hands quite clean so I can do that mouth to mouth, you know.
End to end.
But speaking of tampon removal, how awful is it when the sensation when you didn't realize that your flow was kind of ebbing and
Mm,
you used a tampon anyways and you go to remove it
mm.
and it pulls your insides out?
Right. It's fucking
It's dry.
medieval. It
Yeah,
feels
it's
like a
horrible.
medieval torture method.
It really
It's,
does feel like your insides are coming out of you.
yeah, and there's nothing you can, like, you just have to do it. I don't think, like, I
Hmm.
just don't think that people who don't menstruate understand the extent. It's not just, oh, like blood is coming out of me.
Yeah.
I've cut myself before. It's not nearly it's not nearly as bad as having a
No.
period.
No, you can just wrap a band-aid, wash it clean, put a band-aid on it, rub some vitamin E. That cut will just like, that'll heal overnight.
Right?
Not so much,
Right.
yeah,
And maybe it hurts in that area, you cut your finger, oh, my finger hurts. Not, oh, my back, my legs, my head.
exactly.
I've I've got acne,
Yeah.
my boobs.
That's not even to say the percentage of women like myself who have endometriosis, and then there's a whole other bag of shit to go with it.
So when I think about period stories, one of my earliest ones does come to mind, and especially as a teacher now, I appreciate this a little bit more, and especially since this was a male teacher. But so I was in 7th grade. It was not my first period, but early on in this nonsense, and I realized that, like I'm sitting in my chair, I can still see this room. It had the most boring layout for a classroom where, it's just separate rows. So, I'm not sitting like directly next to anyone to easily pass a note or whisper to. But I realize that I have perioded all the fuck over my chair. And somehow I was able to let my friend know. And I just had no idea what to do. And this girl, Brooke, she handled it in 7th grade. And it was one of the most compassionate experiences I've ever had, where she went up and explained it to the teacher. He didn't make it weird. I remember Brooke was able to give me her jacket to wrap around my waist. And I do remember it was actually a dark red sweater, like that's literally just like the sweater she had that day. So that was the one I tied around my waist and was able to escape away into the bathroom. And Brooke had all of the supplies ready. And she was just, she was the girl ready to support as a 7th grader. And then the other part that was really appreciative from my end was the teacher. So like we had a routine at the end of class every day, because we were the last class of the day, where we would have to clean up and make sure we had everything off the floor, and we'd have to put the chairs on top of the desks, like flip them over. But this was a point of my anxiety, was like, as soon as I stand up, everyone's gonna see, all of this blood everywhere on this chair. And Mr. Allen made the announcements to the class that today we didn't have to put our chairs on top of the desks. You could just push them under the desks. And it was such a moment of compassion, and it was literally 7th grade. I don't have many memories from 7th grade, but I remember Mr. Allen not making us put our chairs on top of the desks so that it could be a little bit secretive that I perioded all over my chair.
Oh, kudos to that teacher. That's really cool.
Yeah, and kudos to that kid. I mean, it's not always easy there's a lot of stigma around periods, and especially when you're that age, there in some cases is even shame.
Oh, definitely. Did you have a major shameful moment from your school days?
Not particularly. I was very lucky.
Oh, la-di-da. Just kidding.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I guess I did have a worse spillage moment, and it is very similar to hers, though. It was picture day in middle school, probably 7th grade again. And I bled through my jeans in the cafeteria on some white benches, hoping that nobody would notice, and then finagled my puffy coat around my waist, where it stayed all day. But people wore their clothes tight around their waist, so it didn't look that weird. I still have the photos they took of me, because it was picture day, and my face sort of said it all, that I was sort of sitting there in crusty, bloody jeans with wads of toilet paper stuffed into my underwear and probably matted into my pubic hair by then. And it was so uncomfortable. But I did make it home that day, and with no one knowing, like I never told anybody. And I remember ripping my pubes out as I removed the wadded up toilet paper and cleaned everything. So it was a great picture day, and I'm glad I got the face moment in print for all to see. And my mom has it hanging up on her wall to this day.
I really, really want to see that picture now.
I just look miserable. And those were new jeans too. I wanted to look nice. So many awkward moments in early, when you're just figuring out your body and just figuring out how to deal with this every month. Should we move on to the next clip?
Yeah, on that note.
I'm sorry, now all you can think about is my young pubes are ripping out as I
Thank you for specifying young. Oh fuck. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, we're getting into some dangerous territory here.
Yeah, right.
So one thing I'll say about period stuff as well is that it's a bit hard for me to think of stories off the top of my head because I have been #blessed with not having my period for about the past 5-ish years. I haven't had it really since 2016 because I got this amazing birth control called Nexplanon, which is a rod that is inserted into my arm through a minor surgical procedure, which is honestly like probably my favorite thing in the entire fucking world. Some people don't necessarily have the best effects from it, but one of my friends told me about it and said that she quit getting her period from it. And so, by golly, I went and got it myself and have literally not had my period since then. It's supposed to last for 3 years at a time, but I went to Planned Parenthood a couple years ago when I was getting ready to travel, and they were basically like, "Oh, well, it's supposed to like it just been FDA approved for 5 years instead of 3 years. So, it will cause more harm to cut your arm open again than it is to leave it there." It's like, well, okay, I guess it's in there for a little bit now. And I was actually pretty pissed when that happened since I do travel internationally for extended periods of time. And I did not have this thing replaced until literally just a couple months ago, when I was finally able to get an appointment, and it was a whole thing. Had a gyno appointment with a med student that was pretty awkward. But luckily, it was the real doctor who did the insertion. It was quite an ordeal when it happened because he clearly had a new nurse as well who was helping out. And she was hilarious because when she was like kind of helping the doctor, and it's like minor surgery when they put it in. Like it's a thing. It's a thing when they put it in. And I was having both an insertion and removal. But it's not like anesthesia surgery, it's just like numb your arm surgery. They just do a little sliver, and this nurse was so funny. Like, I wasn't really stressed out going into the procedure, but this nurse was like way more stressed out than I was, and then she started making me stressed out. And afterwards, I was talking to the doctor and was like, "Oh, like that really wasn't that bad. I didn't feel anything." And the nurse goes, "I was about to faint looking at you. I don't know how you girls do it." And I told her, it's all worth it to not get your period. It is all worth it.
I definitely am a big fan of the idea of not having a period, but it just seems like there's no, like there are better and worse options, but all of them are either expensive, very painful, not very effective. I don't know. I mean, I guess obviously people use that stuff as birth control, not just ways to avoid getting your period. But I feel like really the real reason I would want it at this point is because I don't want to have my period. What are
I
your
think
what have you tried? Have you tried anything?
I tried the pill when I first got married, and I noticed way back then, it was like around 2000, 2001. I just remember specifically walking into the washroom in a daze, and I was out on a dinner date with my then husband, and I just remember feeling completely out of it. It was the first time I've ever been, aside from smoking pot and stuff like that, but just the experience of being altered, and I didn't like it. And I remember walking back after I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time and just told him, like, I don't feel normal. I feel weird. I don't like having to take these pills every month, um, every day, whatever. They just, so I didn't much like the pills. I think that the non-hormonal IUD was actually pretty good. Um, I didn't notice a lot of the things that other people say that they do for them, weight gain and stuff like that. I'm already really fat and gross and stuff, so none of that really, I didn't notice anything like that. If anything, it actually maybe helped in some ways. But if
Well,
there are any,
you're not gross.
I think this is your attempt to lead me into a trap. So I'm not going to fall into your trap. I think if there are any women out there with endometriosis, there is sort of a thing there's once you're diagnosed, they give you options. And the option that was given to me was surgery. It wasn't actually surgery, it was laparoscopic. Yeah, they ended up having to open me up and take out one of my ovaries. But the thing that they recommend afterward, or that was recommended to me by surgeons that were top end in the city, was using the Mirena with hormones, because it keeps your endometriosis from from the cells from forming where they're not supposed to. And so actually that has been incredible. And my doctor was amazed that I still had my period. But to me, it was like, even though I still got it, it was like so much different. I wouldn't have to bleed through products like as soon as I put them in. It was just night and day. So with the surgery, and often they don't have to cut you open. That was just an extreme case. So anybody that's contemplating that, it actually did help a lot. And they can figure out if they need to remove an ovary, or they can determine if the cell, it's just a good idea to do that if it's part of what your doctor is recommending. And also to use a Mirena IUD with hormones, because even though there are some hormone things in it that I don't like, it actually does suppress the growth. So in that way, for periods, for period pain, in that way, I think those are actually quite viable options. I know some people that absolutely hate them. I'm not sure if I would. The idea of not having a period, even though it's so painful sometimes, is, and I'm not trying to like, what's good for somebody is weird for other people. And I think it just feels pretty unnatural to me to not have my period. But that's just me, because I've grown up always having one. And I know some women even exercise a lot and their period abates and goes away. And I've never been that kind of person. So to others, it might not feel weird. But to me, it feels really unnatural to not bleed every month. I just wish it wasn't as painful. That's all. But when you were using, or what kinds of birth control have you used, and did you use it for periods at all?
I exclusively, in fact, for period relief was the only reason I ever considered, and the only reason I ever used any kind of birth control, not other than condoms and things like that, but hormonal birth control.
And garbage bags.
What's that?
Just throw a garbage bag on it. It'll be fine. You don't need a fancy condom.
Wow, that's a lot of plastic. Now I've lost my train of thought, asshole.
Condoms.
Condoms, right. No, so I originally started using the pill because someone told me that it would make my period not last as long, that their period got shorter because
Yeah.
I was having these full on total bullshit 7-day periods. And that's fucked up. That's wrong. Because I would have friends who would talk about, oh, it's just 3 days or whatever. And I like 3 days, I can fucking deal with that for 3 days. Even when it is painful, it's not great, but for only 3 days, not so bad. But
Yeah.
but I didn't find that it did that for me at all with the
No,
pill.
it's so individual. I mean, some people
hmm
do have very light periods, and then
hmm
other bitches bleed for 12 days. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And so I think it's important that people realize that not everybody has the same experience with their periods just because one person doesn't get bad cramping or bloating or those things. There are some people who are luckier than others when it comes to that sort of thing, or less unlucky. I don't know. So I moved on to NuvaRing and I used that for a while, and that actually did make my periods a bit shorter. And I could do things like if I didn't want to get, like if I was going on a trip or something, I could be a bit more flexible with when my periods started.
right.
But eventually I started getting really horrible migraines, and I
Mm.
was getting them like 3 or 4 times a week at the end. And I was really scared. I was living overseas and I was like, am I dying? Why am I getting so many migraines? Like, do I need to go home and see a doctor? Like, what the fuck is going on with my body? And then it dawned on me. I was like, oh, well, I know birth control has some really fucked up side effects. So
Yup.
right? So I stopped using my NuvaRing, and lo and behold, I still get migraines because I get but I'm not getting them like those extra special,
Yep.
really horrible migraines that I was getting like all every week. So after that, I never went back on any kind of hormonal birth control. And I considered doing an IUD, but some of the stories I've heard have really put me off that as well. Just it moving around in there when it shouldn't, just the
There have been some instances like that.
right? The pain of the insertion and the removal, and
Yeah.
the and the
It's
lack of just also just the general sort of lack of giving a shit of a lot of doctors about the fact that it's actually really, really painful and kind of traumatizing.
mhm.
And so it was just sort of like, oh, you'll feel a slight pinch. And this is what I've heard from friends, like, it's just a slight pinch. And like, it's not a fucking slight pinch. If that's a
No.
slight pinch, because again, like there's so much variation. Like for some women, a pap smear feels like nothing. You don't even really notice
Mhm.
it. And for other women, it's really, really painful.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the medical field in all whatever that I don't think that enough that it's mainstream enough yet for people to
Yeah.
realize that for medical professionals as well to realize that there's a lot of variability, and just because your last patient didn't even feel it doesn't mean that your next one isn't going to want to punch you so hard
Totally.
your head spins around.
Totally. I was really, really lucky during that time of my life to have a gynecologist that was really sensitive to women. And
Hmm.
I was really surprised because it was horrible. It feels like you're being implanted with this sharp needle, in my experience. But when I asked a friend of ours, a friend of mine, who what her experience was, she didn't really feel it at all. It was very individual. It was so some people feel it, some people don't, and I was actually really surprised because I thought that she would have. I thought that she would have commiserated with me. I thought that she would have had the same experience, but she didn't. So
Hmm.
I know it can be quite different, and you don't want somebody insensitive that doesn't. I mean, this I had a male gynecologist, and I know he didn't have any clue what it would feel like. He's never had a vagina, uterus, anything like that, and but he was still incredibly patient, and he knew that I had never had kids, and actually inserting an IUD into a uterus that has never had kids is actually can be a bit more painful. So he did mention that, and he knew that, and he knows that you generally want to insert them while you're on your heaviest day, your heaviest flow, because your vagina is much more, everything's much more receptive to, and it wouldn't be as painful. So if you're in that boat, if you're wondering about that, I would just think about your own body and do your research and just make sure that that's what you want. And it's not, I mean, there have been women that have had them grown into their bodies and stuff like that. I don't know about me. I could maybe just fall over dead tomorrow. I've had mine in for 8 or 9 years. Way longer than you're supposed to have them in. I need to get mine changed. They're like 5 years for the hormone ones, and I've had it in for nearly 10, I think, almost.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Well,
dead yet.
yeah. It's the small things
It's uncomfortable
that
enough
we
to
have
me
to be
for me to
grateful
drag my
for.
feet. Oh, of
What's
course. It's
right.
an uncomfortable enough process for me to drag my feet on it. It's not pleasant. So you never
Right.
want to like have to sit there and have some guy or woman, anyone.
Stick something up your cervix.
Exactly.
No
So
shit.
should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi guys. So today I'll be giving my opinion about period sex. I mean, okay, so I live in a pretty controversial place which is Israel. And basically, here in the Jewish culture, you cannot really touch a woman when she's on her period. Yet, there are some people who still do. But, well, one thing I've been realizing is that either the person is like really nasty. I mean, I'm down for some dirty sex, but that's like dirty, which is like too dirty. But like, yeah. And so basically, I've had a lot of like situations where either the person is just like, ew, no, and like just awkwardly like sits there and we just have conversations, or the person just like go for it, or like it's usually a mixed feeling. Like, and like what I really hate is that when they start when you eventually start fucking on your periods or having sex, if I have to be more I guess less rude, the person usually complains as like, oh, it smells bad, or oh, that's too much blood. And it's like, what did you expect, mister? So it's quite annoying and kind of like it really makes you feel like shit, because like you don't, first of all, you don't want anyone to be smelling your period, and like if you're having sex on your period, you don't want anyone to be telling you, hey, your period smells like shit. It's kind of really demeaning, like diminishing. Like it's just, they're like, okay, I guess continue fucking me then, or I'm sorry, which you're not even supposed to say I'm sorry, because it's your periods. If this person decided to fuck you on your periods, then it's their responsibility to understand that it might just smell like shit. I mean, it's blood. So, yeah.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, I'm glad that somebody brought this one up
Have
to
you
our
had
attention.
have you had period sex?
I have, although not like casual, not like, somebody I'm just whatever, like on a casual random hookup. Like, no, generally not. But with a partner, absolutely.
Otherwise, there'd be this whole long time where you wouldn't be able to do anything if you just didn't do anything.
And honestly, I have to say that there are certain things about it that are, well, okay, obviously there's certain things about it that are different, but there are certain things about it that are different in a good way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not unpleasant, aside from the fact that some people feel uncomfortable. The actual physical discomfort is decreased. Like it helps with my cramps.
Yeah.
Like I feel better.
There's also a time of my cycle when I'm overly sensitive to physical touch to the point of like irritation and stuff like that. But it leads to a really weird numb sensation that takes. I guess it takes a heck of a lot longer to get to the end. But then the
Oh.
orgasms are like a lot. So the orgasms are harder to achieve during this time, but when they happen, they're ovary shattering. I don't know if you've experienced that, where it's
It just like pop.
well, yeah. Well, the one just pops.
Right. I don't know. And I will speak for that particular partner. Honestly, I mean, he was very cool about all of that stuff. Like he was a medical person anyway, and so he wasn't grossed out. He wasn't
Mhm.
immature about it, and in some ways, again, like even for him, like it was enjoyable. I mean, well,
Yeah.
why would you be having sex with somebody if it's not enjoyable on some level? But I find for me, like orgasms are easier, but also just better.
Hmm.
So I'm not, I'm with you, like half there in that, on
Definitely.
that one.
They're
Yeah.
better at the end.
But,
Um,
like they just have, like, you just look at me
yeah,
and like, boom.
I'll remember that next time.
So,
Um,
in context
I'll wear
matters.
a mask. I'll wear a mask. It's some
Context,
hot person.
context matters. No,
I'll,
it's not that.
I'll just I'll just breathe on you.
I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror and it's just
Yeah,
over.
yeah. Well, I think what you said with, not being a casual hookup, I think that the people that I did, it was really only two people that I had period sex with, but they were both very gentlemanly. They were mature about it. They loved me, and they made me feel comfortable. It wasn't a gross thing. They didn't say I smelled gross. They didn't, even if I did smell gross, it wasn't, it sure didn't seem like it, because they still, and if you're uncomfortable, just put, like, I put a towel down when I was younger because I was uncomfortable about that. And it just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you just, who cares? People have to put towels down for other reasons, like when you're
Right?
sorting things out and stuff. So I mean, it's whatever. Sex is messy, and periods are messy, and if it's good for both of you, then why not go for it? So it's a good one.
Yeah, exactly. And fuck, if anything makes your cramps go away, do
Hmm.
it. Jesus.
Yeah,
So,
and it's a mood elevator, anyways. I mean,
yep. So she's absolutely right about like nobody should be apologizing if somebody is getting to have sex with you and they're gonna bitch about the fact that you have your period, then guess what? You don't get to have sex with me. I'm not about to apologize for that. So,
and if you're somebody who just feels like going and sitting on a mossy rock and you just would say, fuck it, I don't want to be touched, well, that's cool too. There's nothing weird about that. You don't have to engage in bloody sex on your
well,
period if you don't feel like it.
exactly. You shouldn't have to apologize for wanting to have sex when you've got your period, and you shouldn't have to apologize for not wanting to have sex ever,
Sorry, I'm just guzzling some wine here.
as long as it's wine you're guzzling.
Period blood?
Well, yeah, that either.
It keeps me young.
Let's listen to this next clip. So, we have one last clip, I believe. Let's do this thing.
It's easy to understand why village women in many of the world's cultures were traditionally sent away from the village proper to enjoy their periods in the company of similarly stricken individuals. This saved the ancient world's communities from a monthly high tide of tears and vituperation, and gave the men a few days a month to relax and enjoy their lives without the general disgruntlement of hormonal and insanitary women. I mean, I know it's a new age and all, and I do consider myself to be quite an ardent feminist, but still, when you really think about it, well, yuck, it's like having a slaughterhouse between your legs.
It gets me every time.
I'm trying to pinpoint what dead animal I have between my legs when I bleed. Maybe like a dead skunk.
I was thinking more goat.
A goat. What would you be?
Who takes a skunk to a slaughterhouse?
I don't know. I'm thinking of dead animals here.
I honestly, after listening to this clip, and the first time this struck me as well, and then in all subsequent listens, I'm more and more convinced now that it was actually women who came up with this whole, oh, sorry, I'm unclean right now. You shouldn't touch me. And I definitely shouldn't be preparing food because, quite frankly, I would always opt to leave the village and hang out elsewhere. Like I don't
Respite.
need yeah, I don't need people's shit, especially when I've got my period. So by all means, the break he's referring to and the men getting a break and all of that, I don't give a shit what the men are up to. I'm the one who needs a fucking break. And frankly, based on, certain norms for behavior when it comes to how women have been treated through much of history, yeah, I would go sequester myself as well to stay away from those dicks.
I think it's a nice idea. Like I said, sometimes my food, my dinners are more often going to be a failure and burn when I'm bleeding. So I don't want to cook. I would rather go off out to the village and have a little therapy session. So yeah, I think it's a good idea for everybody.
And yeah, frankly, I think that men are pretty big suckers for having bought into this so completely that they actually believe that, like, no, we just
I
don't
think
fucking feel like it.
I think it's to their benefit too. I think everybody needs a break at that point.
I,
Just a
I,
break.
yeah, I sure as fuck would if that's going to be their attitude about it.
Well, those were our clips, and thank you all for sending in all of your lovely gory, bloody details.
Yes, and for participating in our various gathering of information over
Mm-hmm.
social media. I was intrigued to see that users of menstrual cups and discs outweigh the number of tampon users and or pad users. That it was up at 56% of people who responded to the poll said they used something that was not tampons or pads.
And our other poll showed 100% feel comfortable talking about their periods with their friends.
What kind of friends are they if you can't even talk about your period?
So part of why I guess I'm supposed to say don't like talking to you, but maybe I can admit that sometimes I like to talk to you, is to make you laugh and to hear you laugh. And I was just going to run through a few vaginal slangs that are out there to see your reaction. Is that okay?
Okay. Please do.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go off. It's just gonna be a long string of yummy words here.
Okay.
See which one you like the best.
Okay.
So, pink taco, bajingo, love box, cunny, meat curtains, pum pum, coochie, stench trench, sideways sloppy Joe, bald pink taco, fish purse, axe wound, hootenanny, peach, bearded oyster, puss box, sugar walls, juice wallets, nipple,
Wait, the juice wallet.
bat cave, whisker biscuit, velvet lounge, giggle snuff, pee tail,
It doesn't even
hot
make sense.
sea chicken taco, cotton hole, girl pocket, squish mitten, Chuck Norris, what? Tuna town, middle passage, cotton candy canoe, hip lips. I like hip lips. Ham wallet,
That's what a ham wallet is. Oh no.
a whispering eye, a gwat, a noonie, a nappy dugout, monster box, meat stocking,
Wait, oh.
hot dog warmer, bearded kebab,
That one, I don't know.
tuna dungeon, sausage holster, pink wrinkle,
Wait, pink what?
pink wrinkle, hollywog, lady cave, clitter. Doesn't okay.
Wait, so then what's a man cave?
His butthole.
Gross. That's why guys are always
Ooh.
hanging out in their man caves. That's really gross.
Center of the universe, Alabama pocket, loosey goosey, chicken grease,
Wait, Alabama what?
Alabama hot pocket. There's also several that are weirdly blurred out, and they say nope, swear word, bad word, bad word. NSFW, like they're not actually letting us see some of these. I can't even imagine what to be after reading some of these. Flesh bagel.
Flesh bagels, okay.
Yeah. Oh, here's one for you because you're Canadian. Canoe full of moose meat. Yeah, and then glove box, pearly gates, soggy roll, duck pond. Oh my god. I'm not even joking. It says snail trails.
No.
I can't even tell people why that's funny.
Ew, but I mean, I guess it could do that.
So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of happy hole, yawning donkeys, mommy hole, snargle burger. And people
Wait,
are
was there
very
something about a cannoli?
yeah. Well, there's just cannoli, and then there was something that I saw that I can't see now. So yeah, there's just what? Open heart surgery.
Wait.
Okay. Moose.
Moose neck?
Yeah.
I
Oh
don't.
my god. Blown out tater biscuit covered with sour cream.
Whoa.
These people are like 12 years old and make these up. This is just awful. Baloney flaps. A yum hole. Oh man.
There are so many more than I expected.
Ooh, Wookie in a headlock. Goo hole. Clam dangle. We could go on forever.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this was a fun episode. I learned a lot about your period.
Yeah, I learned a lot about how you spend your free time on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, we couldn't not, we couldn't not talk about the beef cookies and the sopping wet pink umbrellas. Beef coffin.
No. I can't. Why a coffin?
Queef McBeef. Judy Puss. Oh my god. I need to stop. We need to.
Yeah, the only one I really had an issue with was the sideways sloppy Joe? Because that's not my understanding of what a sloppy Joe is. That doesn't make any sense.
No. Well, what about anchovy Sunday?
Maybe a little bit more, but definitely not the sloppy Joe one. That's a no for me.
Right. That's a no for your gash custard.
Is that I'm not even going to follow up with a question. So please don't let this particular part of the episode deter you in the future from contributing to our episodes and sending us little recordings. We will continue to
Yes, we want to.
solicit.
Exactly. We want to hear from your stink mounds and your stank beavers.
And your mouths
And your
as well.
mouths. Yep. Your slobber pockets.
That works for either one.
It does. It was perfect.
That was perfect. I think that basically, like, it's not going to get any better from there.
No, I think we should just
End it
put it
here.
in the bag. Yep.
Yeah. Put it in what was it, in nature's pocket?
Exactly. The meat puppet.
No, I feel like meat puppet is more of a penis thing.
Okay. I guess it depends on the puppet.
It looks right at yeah, it looks right at you.
Yeah.
So Jesus, your meat puppet. Oh no, I get it now. I get it now. Never mind. Meat puppet works for both for sure. So be on the lookout for our stories and things on Instagram. And if you have any interest in contributing for past episodes, still feel free to do that because we are still collecting those. So if you want to talk about what makes you weird, if it's something period related that makes you weird, even better.
Or just any random questions. We love random questions. So we'd like
Yeah.
to get some more just random questions. It doesn't have to be about anything. Well, you all enjoy your periods. Cece, enjoy your period. Have fun bleeding.
You know, this time I will, just because you said that.
I wish you a happy period, a happy period.
You know, I know that you're being sarcastic, and I hope you get 2 periods this month.
Oh yeah, are you gonna come on, foist some insults on me here?
You want to hear my period related insults?
Give me some insults here to end this episode.
I hope your tampon string breaks. Um,
You gotta dig it out with the hook, finger hook.
Your boyfriend can help. Or that if you're not a tampon user, that your menstrual cup falls into an auto flush toilet.
Yikes.
Yeah, that would suck because those things are not necessarily cheap. I hope you're, yeah,
You're evil.
Yeah, well, you started it. So I left the country. You're the one who insisted on remaining friends after that. So,
That's true. I tracked you down.
and went out of your way to see me the next time I was in the country. So
Yeah, it's a
everything that's
mistake.
everything that's happening now is on you. And because of that, I hope that your menstrual cup doesn't seal properly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's that's about all I've got that doesn't get too hateful or specific. So yeah,
Will specifically go out and purchase a disc or a cup so that your mean wishes could come true.
so that I'll feel guilty.
Well, no, I don't think you'll feel guilty, but
I
I'll
know.
send you pictures.
Mm,
I'll
no,
insertion pictures.
no,
Okay, we should get out of here.
please.
Okay, this is just getting embarrassing now.
Okay. Wow. All right. Until next week.
Until next week, bitch.